Welcome to the Inflection Podcast, where we explore the pivotal moments that have shaped us into who we are today. I am your host, Anebi, and I can't wait to dive into these moments with you. Let's get it.
Welcome to the Inflection Podcast, Natalie. I really appreciate you jumping on with me today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking back at how we met and the circumstances surrounding that. It's always cool to me, like making internet friends. And then we're in a meeting and then we hit it off and then we keep talking and then we're collaborating. I think you and I met through, was it like a virtual healthcare thing? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, it was probably the only webinar I went to from Founders Live. That was indie pop, like an
indie pop. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was cool. We met through that and then kept talking and I connected on LinkedIn. It's been 2 years-ish.
Yeah, no, it's been 3 years because when we connected, I was just about to leave my corporate job. I was 3 months pregnant with my second child, who will be 2.5 in 2 months. So it was
That's
3 years
amazing.
ago. Yeah.
That is amazing. Time flies by super quick. Oh man. So it's perfect actually that when we met, you were making the leap from your corporate job. And here we are talking about entrepreneurship and what that journey has looked like. So I think that sets the stage perfectly, because this is the Inflection Podcast. And one of the things I like to dive into is motivations and inflection points along the way. So what did that look like? You had your awesome corporate job and it's been 3 years so far doing your own thing.
Yeah.
What did that process of diving in look like, and what things led to that moment?
Yeah, it was a lot of little inflection points that kind of boiled up to being like, what do I really want? When we met, I think I was probably weeks away from leaving, I think. And the couple of things that kind of boiled up over the surface was, one, we were trapped in the middle of COVID. So I was working from home anyway. And I was in a job where all of the work that I was doing had stopped because of COVID, because I was working at Starbucks in supply chain finance and strategy. And the two things that I did was work on big strategy cost saving projects and then provided exec support. So very similar to the fractional CFO work that I do now, where I review their financials and talk about the strategy. And all the projects had halted because they didn't know what to do, because they had to just basically service what needed to happen with COVID. And so I saw this gap where I was like, I don't love corporate. I knew that I wanted to be self-employed. I knew I wanted to run my own business. I had also just found out that I was pregnant with my second, which was not planned. Not that everybody needed to know that, but it was a very big part of why I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I had freelanced for about 9 months before I had gone to Starbucks. So I had a taste for freedom. And I was like,
I want more.
I need to go back to that. And then I also, when I was pregnant with my first, I was so cranky. I was just mean. Like, I was just a mean person because I was so uncomfortable and pregnancy was not my thing. And I just was thinking about like the whole scenario of, if I stay at this job that I'm already 1 foot out the door and I have this other push of pregnancy. And I was thinking, like, if I wait until I come back and then try to start a business, I'm going to have a 1-year-old or an infant. And it's really hard to start a business when you have a brand new baby. And so to me, it was less risky to just leave while I was pregnant, rest, because I needed a lot of rest, and start building the network that I needed in order to run the business. And so all those little things came together and I was like, okay, I'll just do this. The other few little things for the nitty gritty details was, we just timed it well. So everyone was refinancing our house. We were able to refinance a house, buy the car we needed, and then I quit my job. So any lenders out there that are like, oh yes, W-2. No, some people quit right after and then go be self-employed. So there was that. And then it was a big leap. My husband is also self-employed and he had taken a regular job for about 18 months. And he was so burnt out that he quit the week before COVID started.
Oh my gosh.
And then because he was a contractor, they shut down his work. So he actually didn't work for 6 months. So it was a massive risk. But to us as a unit, we felt really comfortable doing it because it was like, we have no choice but to succeed. And so I think that was also part of that inflection was like, there's no good timing to do anything in life. You can't buy a house at the
Yeah.
perfect time. You can't have a baby at the perfect time. You can't start a business at the perfect time. Why not just do all of the crazy at once? And then you have no choice but to succeed. And I think that was my mentality.
So succeed or succeed. Pretty
Exactly.
much.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh man, yeah, that's a lot of faith. And it's something. So when I did the alt MBA some years ago, one of the things we talked about quite a bit is the idea that we all have the fear. Everyone feels fear or should feel fear. Fear is healthy. But what separates the doers and the brave ones is in spite of the fear, you ship. You do, Steve Jobs would say, real artists ship. You're scared like everyone else. You feel the trepidation, but in spite of that, you make the leap. That brings me, so it's been 3 years or about 3
Yep.
years so far. And what are some key challenges you would say along your journey if you're putting in sharing entrepreneurship?
Yeah, the biggest challenge with starting your own business, whatever it is making enough money to support yourself. And I did this with a husband's job that was really risky. A lot of people will be like, oh, we can do entrepreneurship because one partner has a
Yeah.
full-time job and they're very secure. And so they feel less risky that way. I was jumping in with full risk. I have 2 kids at this point and a mortgage. It was scary because it was like, what if I can't succeed? And I think there were 2 things that I think made me feel really comfortable. One was I was a marketable person in where I lived. So if I failed, I could just go get another W-2 job. I felt like I had built enough of a career and enough of a network that, okay, so the most I'm risking is a year of unemployment because I couldn't figure it out. And then I go get another job because I have the network. And so the only risk there was like some sort of economic downturn that made it harder to get a job.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think de-risked it was I was going into finance, something that all small businesses needed. So I felt really secure in the service that I was offering, thinking there's a huge network for it. I wasn't building a brand new product that I had to convince everybody to get on board with. And then the same time, my partner, my husband, also was in an industry where it was like, you can't lose. Like he was doing contracting and it was like, there's just ample opportunity. Like they just couldn't do work fast enough. And it takes a while to build those networks. And it took me a while, but I de-risked it that way where I was very afraid. I think the other thing thinking about just like entrepreneurial mindset and the people that I see being really good entrepreneurs is you're right, just like Steve Jobs, right? They just dig into the fear. And then those things are usually not as scary as they think they are. So that was the other thing too, was like, yeah, very scary. Income was scary. Childcare actually was really scary because we didn't know. And it was also still COVID. And it was like, where are we going to have the children I still needed childcare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's testament though to what I'd like to call pragmatic optimism. It's a term, I think I came across it somewhere and that's how I want to be. And the idea, you're optimistic that it will work out, but also you take practical steps. It's not dreamland, being in entrepreneur land, sure. Hoping it works out, but doing nothing. So you did the work, like for you, before time, you freelance before Starbucks. You spent years building a network and then you made the leap. So it wasn't just, I think I can do it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
You looked at it pragmatically in an optimistic way and you made the leap into it. So that's something I hear from your story. And for those listening, that's something I'm increasingly advocating. It's not blind optimism. It's
Right.
pragmatic optimism. Another thing that I'm curious about, what would you say in terms of communities and networks you found helpful? Because that's something like being an entrepreneur is a very lonely place to be many times. You have the stress, the pressure. For you, your husband and partner is a similar boat. So I think you can talk about that, get that emotional, moral support. But outside of that, like what has been helpful for you as an entrepreneur growing up,
Yeah.
CFO business?
I am always looking for networks. And so I think that has helped a lot, is that constant search for what is the right network and what are the right group of friends. I think you hit a certain point where it's hard to have conversations with your current group of friends and relationships when you take the leap to entrepreneurship if they're not in that space, because
Yeah.
they're talking about things that are so different. And then you're like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get paid next month, but they don't really want to hear about that. But you're like, I need to. So I will say, yes, having a spouse that is also an entrepreneur has been one of the best benefits. I think that I'm just super grateful for that. We talk all the time about our businesses, and we're constantly like, how much money are you going to make this month? How much money are you going to make this month? Like, we have a pretty good communication rhythm. I think the couple groups that have been really helpful are female entrepreneur groups. I think there's a really sweet network of women, a lot of mom groups that are also entrepreneurs, that they just tend to just be super
Right.
tight knit and they're helpful. And so if you can find the one or two people in that group to be besties with, that is key. And I've done that. I've
Awesome.
scrappily networked and made my own little triangle of people. And then I've met some really wonderful people through CEO School, which is a women founder network. There's Female Founder
That's
Collective.
cool. I
Yeah,
like the sound of that.
it's a cool thing. Yeah. There's Female Founders Collective, which I went to their event in LA last year or this year. I don't know what year it is. And then the other one that I'm currently getting into, which is not female founder based at all, but they have local chapters all over the country and it's free, is 1 Million Cups. And
Nice.
so I think that one is another one where I have met a lot of local people, because there's a Seattle chapter and they have virtual and in-person events. And it is just a very diverse group of people. So different types of businesses, different types of people, sizes all over. And that's been a really good network as well.
That's pretty cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's key. It is really key. Finding your tribe, building your tribe and finding your tribe of folks who just get you similar stage. You can learn from them. You can add value to them. That's something I have found to be very useful as well. One question here. What are some future tech trends you're excited about?
Yeah, tech trends. I think it's hard in accounting and finance for me to get super excited about tech trends for a specific reason, is that when you're talking just like the bookkeeping side, which I need in order to do the forward-looking finance side, it's garbage in, garbage out. So in a lot of ways, I think there's all this tech being created that's trying to automate this stuff, but you can't automate it, right? You can't always automate it. You still need super good, solid people to think critically about how things are being categorized. There's a lot of strategy to it that I don't think people realize. So I do think that's going to continue to get better and better and a lot easier, but you're never going to be able to be like, hey, is this Home Depot receipt for a bill of materials or is it for supplies? It's just not going to happen. I don't think you're still going to need a human person for those things. And I think I think there will be better finance tools. So I am excited for that. So when I finance versus accounting, I think there will be a lot more predictive analytics as long as you can put the right data in. And I like the one thing I have yet to see a tool do is a really awesome daily 90-day cash flow forward looking. Like there's a couple tools that'll play around with it. It's really hard because you have to know your business. So you still have to have really solid data that you put in and someone has to plug it in. You cannot use an AI tool to do this. And I'm sure some like turning over and gonna scream at me for saying that, but it's because you just don't know. You can't predict the future. And so I think in finance specifically, I think they can get a lot better. I think there's a lot of cool dashboards that can get created if they can figure out the data inputs.
Yeah. And, that makes me think there is a lot of fear that AI would take away jobs. And yes, it probably will eliminate some mundane tasks and certain jobs, unfortunately. But I think there's always going to be room for the humans who know how to use AI tools to work more efficiently and faster. But then it's like the artist who paints, right? Regardless of the medium, whether it's digital, tablet, or stencil, whatever, there's still an artist who is doing the painting. I think we're always going to need people who can wield those tools better and then have the human element in there to interpret the nuance and the strategy, like you alluded to.
Yeah, exactly. I think you just can't replace that creativity and AI never will. That's not the purpose of it. So I think people want it to be, but I don't think it is. And I also think that takes away the joy of being human. And so at some point there will be a line where AI can't cross. But specifically in finance, it is so much more creative and strategic thinking than people realize. So I think there's a lot of trying to create tools that automate, and they'll get you to a certain point, and that's helpful. I use an FP&A management tool called Giraffe, and it has automated a lot of our reporting, but it's not perfect. I still have to go in and pull insights. And I've seen an AI tool, I don't remember what it's called, that has done that, but it's not better than what I can do, and it's not faster. In that sense, I think that we will get a little bit better and take away some of the really boring tasks with AI, which is what I think the beauty of it is.
Yeah.
And then when you think about the non-finance use, where I have a blog and sometimes it'll help me write an outline. That's just taking away that, like, it's getting my brain started, but it's
Yeah.
not going to replace the creativity.
Yeah. Get you 0 to 1 and get the juices flowing. I love it. You've given so many good nuggets in here, but I am curious, like, for those who are on a precipice looking to make a leap, whether starting their own business, a new career path, from your anecdotal experience, what would you say to such a person? And you can address it specifically to women if you want to.
I think for women specifically, especially if you have kids or or thinking about having kids, that in a lot of ways is a really good turning point for your career and what you want, because you just put up with less once you have a child. You're like, I don't want to do all this busy work. So I think that helps reframe what you really want. And either whether you are thinking, okay, I just want to change careers, but I don't want to work for myself, or you're thinking, I want to start a business. I think there are two really good things that help you clarify. One is what you want your day to day look like. How do you want to spend your day? And I mean, like, really spend your day. Do you want to exercise for 2 hours a day? Do you want to sit on meetings for 6 hours? Or do you want a business where you can just go do whatever you want and it's automated in the background and you're looking at an hour of email? Those are all going to change your path pretty drastically on what you want your day to be like. And then the other one is, like, really thinking through what brings you joy and what takes away your joy. I think a lot of people think career changes, they use them to get out of toxic work environments, or they use them to increase their income. But the closer you think to, like, what brings me joy and what takes away my joy, that income will come to you. I think if you follow that path, it may not be exactly what you want, or you may have to change what you want, what you think you want, but it keeps you from getting in 15 years into a career that you're just like, why did I do this? No matter what your path, I think those are the two starting points.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. Super helpful. When you're not busy having fun with fractional CFO stuff, building a business and taking care, what recharges your tank or your batteries?
I this year started doing CrossFit, and I am not good at it. I'm not very routine at it because I have 2 kids and I run a business and my schedule is a little nutty. But I'm hoping in September, when school starts again, I get back into a routine. But I will say that has been life-changing this year. Like, I feel so much better. It's an hour, so it's short, and then I don't have to think. Like, that is the best part of it, is somebody who's just do this and this, and all I have to do is really focus on counting reps. And then, or not, sometimes I don't count. And then I feel really good afterwards, and I get alone time and I feel great. And that's been really helpful. Apart from that, which we haven't done because of COVID and having 2 kids, I love to travel. So my goal is to go on some international trip in the next 12 months and take the kids. And
That's cool.
That's my big passion.
That's amazing. So would you say you're an early morning CrossFitter or later in the day?
I like later in the day. Or I'm always up early because I have a 2-year-old that likes to be up at 5 or 5:30, and we live in Washington, so it's late at 4:30 now, and I don't love that. But I prefer like a noon or a 4:30.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've experimented with the 5:30 a.m. ones and also later. I think I'll stick to early morning because for me, once a day progresses, it's a lot harder
It
to
is
go.
so hard. Yes, I am really good at, if I don't go early in the day, I'm really good at being like, something came up, I can't get there. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. Like you, with my schedule and stuff, it's been hard, but every time I've gone, it's been so amazing. So I want to stick with it and keep going as often as is practical for where my life is at right now.
Yeah. I will say, I'm going to add one more thing to that long story, but I won't take the time to tell you the whole long story. But I have struggled with a chronic illness for 13 years. So exercise has always been like a big barrier to me. Like I've always taken care of it, but not really intensified it until this year. But as a business owner, taking that step to get into a recurring exercise routine, it has made my business better. So that is another piece of advice that if you are struggling in your career or you're struggling with your business, taking the time for your mental and physical health is almost more important than anything else in your business.
But thank you so much, Natalie, for the gift of your time. It was fantastic chatting with you.
Yeah, this was so much fun. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. And I look forward to being a lot more with you. There's a lot of help needed on the business side for fractional CFOs to small businesses.
Yeah.
I have conversations with small business owners all the time, and it's a struggle. Understanding your finances, being able to project accurately, and having a better grasp of, what's coming in, what's going out. I struggle with that. I think folks like you, we need more of you working with small businesses.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Trying to build the team this year. So we'll have more.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.